Do you hear it? The echoes of the past, the whispers of forgotten truths, fragments of memories lost in the shadows. Welcome to Brainrot, Echoes, where we bring you stories long buried, unravel mysteries cloaked by time, and guide you through the darkest corners of the mind and the universe. Each video is more than just content. It's an echo resonating deep within, urging you to question, to wonder, to explore. Backend index pointing right, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join us in listening to the echoes the world tried to silence. Broken Chains, Part 1, The Nameless Prisoner. The Drevar Fortress stood isolated amidst a desolate wasteland, its black stone walls swallowing the moonlight whole. For hundreds of years, this place had been forgotten on the maps of all kingdoms. Yet, deep within, beneath the cold earth, the ancient dungeon still existed, dark, thick with dampness and the stench of old blood. He was just a prisoner, a nameless shadow locked behind heavy iron gates. No one called him by name, for he had long since forgotten it himself. A monster needs no name to be caged, only chains, hunger, and darkness. His cell was a narrow stone chamber, the low vaulted ceiling forcing him to hunch. Iron shackles bound his wrists and ankles, fixed to the wall by jagged hooks. Each movement brought a groan from the chains, as if they too shared his torment. Days and nights blurred together. The only sound was the steady drip of water from the ceiling, counting down the final breaths of his existence. Sometimes through the small door slot, he glimpsed flickering torchlight. The clatter of soldiers' boots echoed, mingled with jeering laughter and taunts. "Look at it, our cage beast. How long until it dies? I wager the chains will rust before it does." He did not answer, not because he didn't want to, but because his voice had long been swallowed by thirst and cold. At times, he thought himself already dead, but the fire in his chest still smoldered. It would not die, could not die, no matter how many chains sought to bind it. And then that night came. The wind howled outside the fortress. Thunder roared, shaking every stone. A sudden tremor ran through the ancient walls, straining the iron chains. He felt it. The chains had weakened. He clenched his fists, veins bulging beneath skin turned gray from cold. A strength surged, not of ordinary men, but of one caged too long, now breaking free. Crack! The sound of metal snapping echoed like an omen. The wrist shackles broke apart, followed by the ones at his ankles. He collapsed to the ground, not from weakness, but from the dizzying rush of freedom after so many years. In the hallway, the guards startled at the strange sound. One thrust his torch toward the cell, eyes wide with horror. "It's loose!" The shouts began. Alarm horns shrieked, reverberating through the fortress. But it was too late. He rose, his massive form casting shadows upon the stone walls. His eyes, once human, now glowed amber in the dark. The guard's screams echoed, shrill in the narrow passage. One stumbled back, dropping his torch. The weak flame danced, as if afraid of the figure it illuminated. The prisoner stepped out of the cell's darkness. Each heavy footfall made the stone floor tremble. Chains still clung to his ankles, dragging with a chilling clatter. He locked eyes with the guard, and in his gaze burned nothing but raw, primal survival, no room for mercy. The guard drew his sword, the blade trembling in his hand, steel glinting in the firelight. "Stop! Stay back, monster!" But he did not stop. With a swing, the chain still on his wrist struck the sword, sending it flying. Another strike flung the guard against the wall, where he crumpled unconscious. The alarm horn wailed on, a mournful dirge as if the fortress itself screamed. From every corridor came hurried steps, clashing armor, and shouted orders. "Stop him! Kill it before it reaches the gates." But no one dared approach. The prisoner advanced, a nightmare risen from shadow. The stench of blood, torch smoke, and fear filled his lungs. He did not know where he was going, only that each step was a stronger beat of a heart too long asleep. He had to get out, had to breathe free air, had to escape this place that had caged his soul for so long. As he climbed the stone stairs toward the upper levels, scattered memories flashed through his mind. A blood-soaked battlefield. A man in a black cloak, eyes sharp as daggers. A verdict. Lock it away. Let not die. Let not live. He froze. Who had said that? Who was he? More soldiers blocked the stairs, spears leveled at his chest. Their commander, bearded and clad in rusty armor, glared at him with calculating eyes. Halt! Kneel if you wish to live. He looked at them. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. In their eyes he saw not hatred, but an unspeakable terror. What had he once been, for them to see him as a beast in human skin? Cold wind swept down from above, bringing the scent of rain, making torch flames flicker. Thunder outside pounded like a war drum urging him on. He had nothing left to lose. He charged. Metal clashed, spears snapped, voices cried out. One man, with bare hands and broken chains, shattered the line of guards. Blood-splattered stone, walls, and his own body. But he did not stop. Not for a second did he hesitate or look back. He climbed higher, closer to freedom. In that moment, lightning split the night sky, its light pouring through a small window, revealing his face, a face once human, now twisted by pain, hunger, and fury. Outside, rain lashed the fortress. On the watchtower, the alarm bell tolled wildly as the prisoner's dark silhouette passed the shattered gate and vanished into the storm's roar. Part 2. Shattered Chains. Rain lashed down like the leather whips of wrathful gods. The Drevar Fortress trembled beneath the storm, its ancient stone walls soaked through, as if they too bled from the fear swelling within. The prisoner's figure emerged amidst the downpour, gaunt yet strangely powerful. Broken chains dangled from his wrists and ankles, dragging along the ground, smearing blood from old and fresh wounds alike. Behind him, the fortress blazed with torchlight, with fires hastily lit in panic. The alarm horn shrieked in bursts, drowning even the thunder's roar. He ran. No plan, no direction, only instinct guided him. The survival instinct of a creature driven to its limits. Bare feet pounded over stones, thorns, and gravel, blood mingling with rainwater. But he felt no pain. The greater agony, the agony of years imprisoned, had swallowed all else. Cries rang out behind him. Surround him. Don't let it escape. Shoot. Shoot now. Arrows whistled through the storm. One struck his shoulder, piercing the gray skin numbed by cold. Another grazed his side, but he did not stop. His hand tore the arrow from his flesh, blood spraying, lost in the rain. His amber eyes burned, twin fires in the night. He plunged into the forest. The ancient trees parted like nature's own gates, drawing him into their depths. Rain poured down, leaves drooped heavy, drowning all sound but his ragged breaths and the pursuit behind him. The soldiers charged after him, torchlight flickering, weapons ready. But the deep woods were his ally. He slipped between the trees like a phantom, branches whipping his face and arms, unnoticed. Rage and the thirst for freedom had made him one with the night. In the forest's heart, far from the soldiers' cries, he stopped. He collapsed at the base of a tree, breath heaving, hands clawing at the sodden earth. Pain flared in his shoulder, but he made no sound. The rain washed the blood from his skin, but not the torment from his heart. A voice whispered in his mind. Not an enemy's, not a soldier's, but a voice from memory, distant and hazy. You will never escape. The chains are not on your hands. They are in your mind. He lifted his head, eyes blazing beneath the rain. No, I will escape. He forced himself upright, pain smothered by the fury boiling within. He stared at his hands, gaunt, calloused, stained with blood, and for the first time realized these very hands had broken chains no ordinary man could. Where had that strength come from? He did not know, only that it had always been within him, waiting for the moment to awaken. And now, with freedom brushing his skin, it demanded that he go on, to the end. Behind him, the sound of hooves echoed. The soldiers had mounted, determined to chase him down. The commander at their head clenched his jaw. After him, that beast must not live to see dawn. He ran again. This time, not in retreat, but toward the horizon, toward true freedom. The wind bit his face, cold but sweeter than any breath drawn in the dungeon's dark. He felt the change within, his muscles firmer, his breath deeper, his legs no longer heavy with chains. His blood ran hot, each heartbeat a drum urging him forward. The hoofbeats drew near. A horseman swung his sword, charging. He did not dodge. By instinct, he seized the attacker's arm and wrenched it. The soldier flew from the saddle, crashing to the ground, unconscious. The horse shrieked and fled into the dark. The remaining soldiers faltered. A prisoner, unarmed, had felled one of their horsemen. To them, he was no longer human. The rain eased. Pale moonlight broke through thick clouds, falling upon his face, a face wet with rain, with blood, with the pain and yearning to be a man again. He gazed into the distance. Drevar Fortress was now just a shadow on the night's horizon. He had passed its walls of chains, but he knew the true chains, the curse, the memories, his very nature, remained, waiting to claim their due. Part 3. The Hunted. The night deepened, the forest thick with mist. The cold wind lashed his face, carrying the damp, rotting scent of fallen leaves and decaying wood. He trudged forward, legs heavy as lead, blood dripping from his wounds onto the leaf-strewn ground, mingling with the rain, leaving a trail for his pursuers. But he could not stop, not while hoofbeats, hunting dogs' barks, and the shouts of men echoed behind him. Don't let it escape. Surround the northern woods. Take alive. The Lord wants it breathing. He clenched his fists, still warm with the blood of his earlier struggle. Every muscle in his body tensed, his eyes scanning the darkness for an escape. But the forest was no longer his ally. The night itself seemed ready to devour him. A branch lashed across his face. He staggered, dizziness flashing through him. And then the image came, sharp as a blade despite the haze. He saw himself on a blood-soaked battlefield, a sword gripped in his hand, tattered cloak billowing, eyes burning with fury. Before him, men knelt in fear, and the only one who dared meet his gaze, the Lord of Drevar, with that twisted, mocking smile. He is no man. Chain him. Let him live, but live in hell. He tore himself free from the memory, heart pounding as if it would burst from his chest. A wave of rage rose within, so fierce that the trees around him seemed to shudder in answer to the fury long caged. He ran again, this time not to flee, but to seek the truth. The hunting dogs drew closer, their snarls and barks tearing through the night. He glanced back. Through the mist, the beasts emerged, eyes red, fangs gleaming white in the darkness. The horsemen spurred after them. He plunged deeper into the forest, weaving past ancient trunks, skirting moss-covered boulders. His breath came hard, his body steaming, the heat within driving back the cold. With each stride, he felt the earth's heartbeat beneath him, the forest's pulse echoing his own. A thorn snagged the chain at his wrist, yanking him back. He stopped, gasping. His hand gripped the chain, about to tear it free, but in that instant he understood. The chain was no longer just a shackle. It was a mark, a reminder that he had been caged, that he had been a monster in men's eyes. The dogs were upon him. One lunged, jaws wide. With instinct honed by torment, he whipped the chain like an iron lash. A sharp crack, a yelp of pain. The beast tumbled, writhing on the ground. The others recoiled, snarling but hesitant. He edged back, spine against an ancient tree. He knew he could not run forever. Arrows would find him, and he had no strength left for flight. A roar echoed through the forest. Not the voice of man, nor of dog. A sound rising from the earth itself, as if the ancient woods warned all who trespassed that something older had awakened. The horsemen froze. The hounds whined, tails tucked, scattering. Even the war horses shrieked, skittish in the storm-racked night. He closed his eyes. A strange recognition stirred. He had heard that roar before, not once, but 1,000 times, in dreams, in fevered visions in the dungeon's dark. The roar of his own caged nature, now unleashed. His eyes opened. The darkness seemed to shrink from the fire in his gaze. The soldiers trembled, bows raised, but hands unsteady. "Monster, not a man," one whispered. He stepped from the shadow of the tree. The rain had stopped. Moonlight pierced the clouds, falling upon him, revealing a body scarred and gaunt yet unbroken, and eyes alight like burning coals. "Don't let him near," the commander cried, but even he retreated. He said nothing. He didn't need to. His very breath spoke. "I am no longer your prisoner." With impossible speed, he struck. The chain lashed out. 2 soldiers fell. The horses bolted. The rest fled, scattering like sheep before a wolf. And he stood alone in the clearing of the ancient wood, chest heaving, watching the hunters who had become prey to their own fear. Night waned. The eastern sky glowed ash-gray, heralding dawn. He lifted his gaze. The fortress of Drevar was no more than a dark smudge on the horizon. He had shattered its chains, escaped its darkness. But he knew the hunt had only begun. Stronger foes than these would come, and he would have to seek the truth. Who am I? Why was I caged? What now stirs in my blood? He turned and walked deeper into the forest. Each step, each breath, carried a silent vow. I will run no longer. I will face it all, the hunters and the darkness within. Part 4. The Fortress's Secret. The forest thinned. Before him loomed a sheer rocky slope, clinging to the sky's edge. The night rain had ceased, but dark clouds still churned above. The ancient earth's musty scent rose thick in the air, as if the very stone whispered forgotten secrets. He stood still, staring at the towering cliff. A strange feeling stirred, not fear, but a nameless longing. He had been here before, or perhaps this place had once been his home, before chains imprisoned his memories. He laid a hand upon the rock. His fingers trembled ice-cold. Yet from a crack in the stone, a faint warmth drifted, a breath that did not belong to this world. Tonight, he was no longer fleeing. He stepped into the cave, its entrance hidden beneath a tangle of vines, as if the earth itself sought to bury it from the world. The cave opened like the maw of some ancient beast, dark and endless. He crept forward, bare feet meeting cold stone. The drip of water echoed in the blackness, counting the moments of forgotten time. With each step, memories surged clearer, sharper, more painful. He saw himself in a stone chamber, walls carved with ancient symbols. Voices spoke, distant yet etched deep. "You are no longer human. You bear the chains for the sins of generations. Drevar will seal you, so that your blood never falls upon sacred ground. If you awaken, the world will pay the price." He collapsed to his knees, head splitting with pain as if pierced by 1,000 needles. The symbols on the cave's walls glowed faintly by torchlight, a torch he'd found among rotting wood. These were no human markings. They were the script of the Wardens, the race that ruled these lands long before humankind. He could read them. Somehow, he understood every stroke. Beneath Drevar Fortress, the third entity is sealed. Its blood is fire, its breath is storm, its heart is hate. Who frees it dooms themselves. He staggered back, his eyes wide with dread. The fortress, it was not just a prison. It was a tomb, not to contain him, but what lay within him. The wind howled through the cave. He turned, sensing something or someone watching. In the darkness, a pair of red eyes flared. A voice echoed like the wind through stone. "Have you forgotten, bearer of chains?" He gripped the chain at his wrist, golden eyes burning into the shadows. "Who are you?" A dry, hollow laugh answered. "I'm the memory you try to bury, the shadow you left in the heart of the fortress. I am you before the chains." A shape peeled from the stone, a smoke-like figure bearing his own face, but with fiercer, wilder eyes. "You were once a warden, the last. You betrayed your kind to save mankind, and mankind chained you, fearing you." He shook his head. "Lies." The shadow laughed again. "Remember, that fortress, you built it to imprison your kin. You are the prisoner of yourself." Fragments of memory crashed down, leading a human army against the ancient race, offering his blood to seal them. And when victory came, humanity turning away, fearing the one who had mingled his blood with the enemies to save them. He fell to the ground. The wind in the cave died. The shadow dissolved into the stone. Before him, the wall split open, revealing a deeper passage. A distant roar echoed up, the roar of something still chained, but whose bonds had begun to weaken. He understood at last. The fortress, the prison, the chains, all were not to contain him, but the darkness within him. And now, as he broke his chains to escape, he had shattered the final seal. He rose, stepping into the abyss, where the greatest secret awaited him. Part 5, the final decision. The darkness deep within the earth was so dense it felt as if one could touch it. Step by step, he descended the narrow stone path. His breath echoed between the freezing rock walls. The distant roar was now clearer, like the drumbeat of war urging him forward. He no longer felt fear. For now, he knew, what was chained beneath Drevar Fortress was not a beast, nor a foreign enemy. It was the shadowed part of his own soul, the part that generations of humankind had sought to imprison, to fear, to hate. The part he himself had sealed away to buy peace for the world. He stopped before a colossal stone gate. It was etched with ancient symbols, the language of the Keepers, a race that once ruled these lands when humankind still dwelled in caves. He placed his hand upon the stone door. A deep sound resonated, and the gate slowly opened, revealing a vast cavern. At its heart was a bottomless pit, massive chains stretched across like a spider's web, holding back a writhing mass of shadow that howled in silence. His blazing golden eyes met the red glow within the darkness. A roar thundered through his soul. So you have returned, betrayer of yourself? He felt his knees, his whole body trembling. His blood boiled. He saw himself within that shadow. The fury, the thirst for vengeance, the curses upon humankind that had betrayed him, all of it swirling into that black storm. He roared, tearing himself apart inside. No, I am not you. The darkness laughed, a sound like thunder shaking the world. You are me. You will always be me. No chains can bind me. You broke the chains yourself. You call me forth. He gripped the chains at his wrists, tears blurring his vision, but his gaze burning with resolve. If you are me, then I will bind you again. The shadow roared, the massive chains cracking. The earth trembled, stones fell into the abyss. He sprang forward, seizing a broken chain, straining with all his might to tighten it, to bind the mass of darkness. The shadow thrashed, spectral tendrils lashed out, tearing at his flesh. His blood dripped into the abyss, but he did not stop. Thunder rolled, as if the heavens themselves bore witness to this battle of light and shadow within a single soul. He felt his body melt into the chains, becoming part of the seal. A piece of his soul dissolved, merging with the massive links, locking away the darkness forever. You choose to destroy yourself? The shadow howled. He smiled. For the first time in centuries, he felt free. I choose to save what's human within me. And with his final breath, he tightened the chains, sinking the shadow once more into the abyss. The earth grew still. The chains gleamed like crystal, then turned to stone, sealing the chasm for eternity. He collapsed upon the cold cavern floor, his blood mingling with the rock, his eyes closing in peace. Atop the fortress, for the first time in hundreds of years, dawn's sunlight shone down. The wind carried the breath of freedom, sweeping away every trace of the long night. Glowing star the end. From then on, Drevar Fortress remained nothing more than desolate ruins. People spoke of a final prisoner, the one who bore the chains, who sacrificed himself to imprison the darkness forever, saving the world. His name, no one remembers. Only the legend remains.